Cliffjumper's known to say, "Let me at him." His eagerness and daring have no equal. He's driven by a desire to win the battle against the Decepticons. Cliffjumper finds Earth terrain horrendous. One of the fastest Autobots, he often uses his speed to draw fire away from the others. He can also shoot glass gas, which can make metal as brittle as glass. Cliffjumper's recklessness often leads to actual blowouts and situations too dangerous for him to handle. Mirage is not thrilled about being an Autobot freedom fighter. He prefers hunting turbo foxes on Cybertron with his high-priced friends. An effective fighter, and even more effective intelligence gatherer, Mirage possesses an electro-disruptor that can cast illusions, altering his physical placement and appearance for up to 6 minutes. He's also an expert marksman with an armor-piercing rocket dart-hunting rifle. Because he is known to be unsure of the Autobot cause, Mirage cannot be fully trusted. Despite the original concept for his ability to scramble the perception of other robots, Mirage is simply depicted in the G1 cartoon as being able to turn invisible and remain unseen. Originating in Japan from Takara's Diaclone and Microchange lines, Cliffjumper and Mirage were imported for the first wave of Transformers in 1984, turning into a Porsche 924 Sierra GT and closed canopy Formula Racer concept car, respectively. The original Mirage toy was modeled after an actual French Formula One race car, including its advertisements for Jourdain cigarettes, as well as Elf oil products. Cliffjumper, on the other hand, has the distinction of sharing a body and similar mold to Bumblebee, leading to more confusion over the release of both characters in both red as well as yellow, as well as a mysterious third mold, which fans have come to know as Bumper. Thanks to the enduring popularity of Bumblebee, many reissues of Cliffjumper have been made possible, released from the former's retooled and recolored mold, and in some cases, vice versa. One fails to inspire trust, the other is a bit of a hothead. Based on the title of this episode, I think you can see where all this is going. Hey, and just like that, we're all back to watch a little bit more of Transformers together. Now, before we move on, in my last episode I forgot to mention 2 things about Ratchet. One is the difference between his designs when he goes from cartoon to comic book, just little differences in how his head is colored. But more importantly, if you notice, on the classic design, he had a red cross on his shoulder, and on newer figures, that red cross has been replaced with a different symbol. This has to do with the actual red cross cracking down with their trademark on that symbol. Just a little nerd detail I thought I'd share. Now, let's move on to this episode, one of my favorites. And one of the things I always say about Transformers when you think about the different versions, think about the audience that it's intended for. This show was directed at little kids. And I know Transformers has grown up in a lot of different ways and has become more sophisticated for a lot of us. But this show is directed at little boys. And when you watch episodes like this one, always think of the characters like they're little boys that need to learn a lesson. There's values of friendship, family, loyalty, suspicion, honor, choosing the right or wrong path in life. And with that, this is Season 2, Episode 22, Traitor. Here we go. Immediately, this establishing shot tells me the Decepticons will be here any moment. Let's find out why inside.
These electro cells will solve all of the Earth's energy problems. But until we can stabilize them, they could explode at any moment.
Right on time.
What's the Decepticons?
Stand back at once, Starscream! Megatron! Electro cells are too ticklish to withstand your heavy-handed mauling. I want to preserve these objects until I choose to use them to destroy the Autobots.
But you don't understand the danger! No! If one of those cells explodes, it could set off a chain reaction that could devastate the Earth!
Everyone got that?
Starscream, demolish this installation!
Being petty dicks, the Decepticons destroy the installation, so no future electrocells can be created. Truly, a dark day for science. Back at Autobot base, Cliffjumper returns to report good news, and immediately throws shade at one of his teammates.
Good news, Prime. I've located the missing electro cells.
Good work, Cliffjumper. Where?
In the same area Mirage patrolled yesterday.
Impossible! I'd have picked up a reading on them for sure.
Maybe you did, but decided to keep it quiet.
That'll do, Cliffjumper. We don't want bad feelings, just the electro cells. Autobots, transform!
With the sensitivity of a progressive first-grade teacher, Optimus Prime leads his troops into battle.
Why do you delay, Megatron? The power in these cells would be transferred to the Energon cubes by now and the Autobots destroyed if I were in charge.
But I am in charge, Starscream, and until I am sure that this fail-safe monitor device works, I will not risk the electro cells exploding.
In order to demonstrate the potential danger of the electro cells, Starscream decides to behave like a horse's ass, right on cue.
Megatron, perhaps it's time the Decepticons look elsewhere for direction, to someone prepared to make command decisions. The transfer worked perfectly.
This time you have dared too much, Starscream. You must pay the price for your insolence.
Oh, he'll be fine. Stop it.
There, Prime, in that valley, where Mirage found nothing.
Once again, Cliffjumper shows off the enormous chip on his shoulder towards Mirage.
Decepticon at 12 o'clock!
Spotted by Laserbeak, the Autobots spontaneously move in for their target.
Autobots attacking. Prepare to counter-attack. Excellent. I shall rid myself.
Not having killed Starscream yet, Megatron orders Soundwave to call in the Insecticons for backup.
This way, Autobots. Move in.
Try and remember which side you're on, Mirage.
Is it just me, or is this one of the best-looking animated episodes we've seen so far?
An electro cell. Come to Papa.
Not so fast, Papa. Didn't you ever learn not to touch things that don't belong to you?
Okay, Optimus, jump in, now!
Optimus Prime, where?
Physically outmatched, Mirage daringly takes on Skywarp in hand-to-hand combat.
I didn't feel a thing.
And let's try again.
Too fast for you, huh, Autobum?
The Insecticons break it up, but Mirage manages to tear away one of Skywarp's Decepticon insignias.
Release the electro cells, Megatron. They don't belong to you. You lost, Optimus.
As he takes his stand against Megatron, Optimus falls victim to a sneak attack by kickback.
Neither you nor your Autobot simpletons can prevent me from ruling the universe.
Missed, Beetle Breath!
Fighting Cliffjumper, Shrapnel accidentally sets off one of the electro cells, sending us into our first commercial break. Oh no, not another explosion! Anyways, let's talk more about Cliffjumper and Mirage. In Marvel Comics, neither Cliffjumper or Mirage were given very much to do. Mirage, in the earliest issues of the comic, was depicted as being unsure of the Autobot cause. This all changed, however, after several encounters with Decepticon Ravage. Whereas Cliffjumper was taken offline by a Decepticon-controlled duplicate of Optimus Prime. Mirage, on the other hand, would meet his fate much later in the series, at the hands of Starscream during the Underbase saga. Both characters' toys were discontinued in early 1986, both in time for the traumatic slaughterfest known as Transformers the Movie, made for kids. An incomplete storyboard depicts a scene not included in Transformers the Movie, showing Mirage's supposed death. Although it was never confirmed, his death is assumed because he is one of many original characters that does not return at all for Season 3 of the series. Cliffjumper, on the other hand, is a very different story. Even though his toy was discontinued, Cliffjumper is specifically one of several Autobots who is seen surviving at the end of Transformers the movie, and yet, he does not appear at any point in Season 3. This ultimately had to do with voice actor Casey Kasem's decision to leave the show. Don't worry, we'll get to that in the next segment. Both Mirage and Cliffjumper have been seen returning to comic pages as early as the 2000s. Cliffjumper and Mirage were also names of characters that Hasbro used multiple times to maintain those trademarks. Often seen in G1 reboots in their classic looks and original color schemes, the most noteworthy would be Cliffjumper played by Dwayne Johnson at the opening of Transformers Prime. Cliffjumper had a substantial live-action cameo in Transformers Bumblebee when he's seen tracked down and killed by Decepticon hunters Shatter and Dropkick. 2003's Transformers Rise of the Beast was the first live-action appearance of Autobot Mirage, voiced by comedic actor Pete Davidson. Although in the movie he primarily took the form of a Porsche that is normally associated with Autobot Jazz, he was also seen converting between different vehicle modes. As a special Easter egg to old school fans, we did briefly get to see him as a Formula 1 race car. However, he did make this joke as well.
They're just work friends.
Work friends? You've been inside me.
The electro cells! Forget the Autobots!
Knocking Starscream's doppelganger on his ass, Megatron works to stop the explosion of the electro cells.
Mirage, can you still transform?
I think so.
We can't...
Realizing the danger of these electro cells, Optimus calls for a retreat so they can regroup and make new plans.
Just a couple of twists.
Like a broken record with a bad attitude, Cliffjumper is at it again.
Had those cells yesterday if Mirage had reported them in the first place.
I already told you. They weren't there.
I say they were, and you didn't report it. Hold on, Cliffjumper. Until you can back your remarks with proof, I'll take Mirage's word. Now, I want you to go to the ridge and maintain surveillance of those electro cells. If the Decepticons try to move them, I want to know about it at once. You can depend on me, Prime. Put your axle up and rest a while, Mirage. I'll look in on you later.
I don't need rest.
Ignoring Doctor's orders, Mirage foolishly decides to take action in order to prove himself.
Two measly energon cubes? Is that Megatron's idea?
Utilizing stealth, he sneaks up on the Insecticons. Stealing their energon, he leaves behind Skywarp's insignia in order to cause confusion and mistrust among their ranks.
Just what I suspected. Mirage is helping the Decepticons.
With his head completely up his own ass, Cliffjumper impulsively takes aim at Mirage, but is interrupted by the arrival of the Insecticons.
Perfect. My plan is working already.
First the Decepticons reward us, then they rob us! We'll take back our energon cubes and more!
Slipping out of sight, Mirage leaves the stolen cubes out in the open for the Insecticons to find.
To Prime as soon as I take care of that traitor Mirage. But where'd he go? Uh-oh, sounds like I'm not alone.
Starscream gets the drop on Cliffjumper before he can fire.
You really need a friend. What?
But the arrival of the Insecticons gives Cliffjumper the distraction he needs to escape once again.
What were you firing at, Starscream?
An Autobot spy!
Obviously you missed.
Well, I won't miss him!
As Mirage draws Decepticon fire, the Insecticons believe they are in fact firing on them. Things escalate from there.
On us. It's a Decepticon ambush.
Time for me to disappear.
Lame pun made and Mirage out, baby. The subterfuge has wreaked havoc on Decepticon-Insecticon relations. As former evil allies continue to fight, Mirage fails to make a complete escape.
Where did this one come from? I'll finish him off. No, we can make use of him. I've implanted a cerebro shell. It will compel him to obey only us. Stand up, Autobot slave!
And with that, Mirage is completely screwed.
Select a target! Now! Fire! I think this is going to be quite enjoyable.
And with that, I'd say it's time we do another spotlight video on one of our Transformer cast members. This time, I've chosen broadcasting superstar Casey Kasem, the voice behind Cliffjumper.
Hello again, and welcome to American Top 40. My name's Casey Kasem, and I'm all set to count down the 40 most popular records according to Billboard magazine. Well, this week we've got a comeback hit for a big soul group of the 60s and 70s. After more than 12 years, Gladys Knight and the Pips are back in the countdown.
Radio and television personality Casey Kasem was born Kamal Amin Kasem on April 27, 1932, in Detroit, Michigan. He grew up with his Lebanese-American family in the city. Kasem began working in radio while he was still in high school, and continued to do so while he studied broadcasting at Wayne State University. Possibly most famous for his Top 40 countdown, he either appears or at least is heard as himself in numerous films and TV shows. For me, most notably in Ghostbusters.
Still making headlines all across the country, the Ghostbusters are at it again. This time at the fashionable dance club, The Rose. The boys in gray slugged it out with a pretty pesky poltergeist, then stayed on to dance the night away with some of the lovely ladies who witnessed the disturbance. This is Casey Kasem. Now, on with the countdown.
Outside of radio and celebrity appearances, Kasem began voicing cartoons in the late 1960s. Going way back, in Skyhawks he was the voice of Joe Conway.
That's really something else, isn't it, Dad? Oh, no, I mean the thingy here, the snooper.
In the stop-motion animated movie Here Comes Peter Cottontail, he voiced Peter Cottontail himself.
Every time you tell a fib, your left ear droops.
Oh, well, I guess I did think about the job once or twice. Lots of times.
In the short-lived animated Hot Wheels series, he voiced Tank Mallory, as well as Dexter Carter. In Chattanooga Cats, he played a character called Groovy.
Come on, Grasshopper, move, so we can make the museum and groove. Groovy!
He really hit his stride in the late 1960s with Hanna-Barbera, when he started getting cast in iconic roles such as Alexander and Josie and the Pussycats.
I was attacked. A tremendous space monster tried to bite my nose off.
And starting as early as 1968, he was Robin in Batman and Robin.
Holy guerrilla warfare! Toyman's training the populace of the city to do the Legion's evil dealings.
And he continued playing this role all the way through the 1980s. But when it comes to Hanna-Barbera roles, we have to acknowledge his biggest paycheck of all. He was the original Shaggy on Scooby-Doo, a role he consistently voiced for decades thereafter.
Wow, like a canine crime wave. 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready, and here I go.
Being more of a Lord of the Rings fan myself, I do need to acknowledge his participation as Merry in the animated Return of the King.
'Tis Lord Theoden's niece. She wanted to ride with us, but he forbade. She disguised as a knight and she came hither.
In Transformers, he was the voice of Teletran 1, Blue Streak, Dr. Arkeville, and of course, Cliffjumper himself. When it comes to these voice actor videos, I do my best to keep them positive, and I do want to honor these people and their careers, and even their memories for those of them that have passed on. However, since this is linked to Transformers, I do need to acknowledge the situation that led to Kasem leaving the show before the 3rd season. In spring of 1986, events occurred that caught the attention of Americans everywhere. Even a 10-year-old boy like myself was seeing it on the news for weeks, and was learning about it in school.
At 7 o'clock this evening, Eastern Time, air and naval forces of the United States launched a series of strikes against the headquarters, terrorist facilities, and military assets that support Muammar Gaddafi's subversive activities. The attacks were concentrated and carefully targeted to minimize casualties among the Libyan people, with whom we have no quarrel. From initial reports, our forces have succeeded in their mission.
He spent a lot of his time trying to get me fired off the show because we had an episode, I can't remember what it was about. It was a clear reference.
I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah.
It was a clear reference
Check this out.
All right, Muammar Gaddafi, who was recently in the news, and you'll hear more about him soon. Anyway, Muammar Gaddafi had, what was he? He tried to shoot down a couple of our planes, and his zone of death, right? It was he had a couple, I think they were Su-22s, but there was some Gornish, Soviet fighter, and they got shot down. And so we set an episode in Libya, but he couldn't call it Libya, so we called it Karbamia. Right? and we had the obvious Gaddafi character was Abdul. And he didn't say anything to me about it. He just demands that I be fired from
Yeah, well, Casey was Lebanese, so he had a little bit of a vested interest.
That was pretty funny. So
Karbamia. What kind of bullshit is this? The only Arab in this script is a goddamn terrorist. I'm fucking out of here. No more Telegram 1. No more Blue Streak. No more Cliffjumper. You can take this script and shove it where the sun don't shine, Wally.
However, getting back to the positive side of things, people my age will mostly remember Casey Kasem for the show that he co-founded, produced, and starred on for 3 decades.
But before we jump into the chart action, let's check out last week's top 3. At number 3 last week was Could Have Been by Tiffany. At number 2 was Need You Tonight by INXS. And last week's number 1 song was The Way You Make Me Feel by Michael Jackson. How's Michael going to be feeling this week? Tiffany and INXS are waiting for a chance to bounce him out of the top spot. We'll see what happens when we get to number 1.
After a long, full life and career, he died on June 15th, 2014, at the age of 82 years old. Casey Kasem, a true broadcast legend. We return to Autobot Base, where Mirage is missing, Cliffjumper is up to his old accusations, and Optimus is getting really tired of his bullshit.
He's at the storage area helping his friends, the Decepticons.
I've warned you about making unfounded allegations, Cliffjumper.
I saw him with my own optics. He delivered 2 Energon cubes to their storage area. But where would Mirage get Energon cubes? I don't know, but it's clear he's a traitor, and we gotta put him out of commission fast.
The only thing clear is that our first order of business is to go to the storage area and get those electro cells.
And then?
Then we will find Mirage and hear his side of the story. Autobots, transform!
With a much more level head, Optimus Prime leads his troop to move out and act on the situation. At the Electrocell station, the Decepticons' civil war rages on. Still under Bombshell's mental control, Mirage proves to be a valuable weapon for their cause.
Too bad you're not going to have long to play with it. So, 2 Energon cubes weren't enough for you. Now you want to steal our electro cells.
The cubes were enough, but you stole them from us.
What gives you that absurd idea?
Megatron, being slightly more intelligent than everyone else in this situation, starts to piece things together.
Decepticons! Put down your weapons!
Insecticons, cease combat! We were deceived by this walking garbage can! You shall pay for it, Autobot!
No, Bombshell! Why destroy a perfectly good slave when I have a plan to use him to finish all the Autobots? Hear me out.
This is very strange, Cliffjumper.
With that, the Autobots arrive, and everything comes boiling to a head.
No one.
They were here, Prime! I'd swear to it!
He is right. I got rid of them, and their friends retreated.
More lies, traitor!
No, I want to hear him out. Mirage, Cliffjumper claims you took Energon cubes to the Decepticons. Did you?
Yes, I took them. Then brought them here so the Insecticons would think the Decepticons had stolen them.
As Mirage is ironically forced to tell the truth, he leads his Autobot comrades directly into a trap. Man, oh man, Cliffjumper's gonna be pissed. And so he is.
Take cover! Take cover! You traitor! I've been waiting for this!
Stand up, Autobot, and destroy your comrade! Stand up! Stand up, I command it! Very well, I'll do it myself, after I blast you!
Valuing honor and wisdom, Ratchet moves in to defend Mirage from Bombshell, regardless of what he may or may not be guilty of. His patience is rewarded with valuable information.
Willingly. What's this?
No wonder Mirage set us up.
Right, Prime. This was controlling him. One of Bombshell's Cerebro shells. Then Mirage isn't a traitor.
And you were just a temperamental asshole the whole time.
Against my fellow Autobots, it was because...
We know. All of us.
It's over, Mirage. Forget it.
With determination on his side, Optimus makes his final move and does a badass slide down the rocky hill. As the running time gets shorter, Megatron finds himself outmatched and outwitted. He responds like the sore loser he is.
But if I can't have the electro cells, no one can!
As Autobots and Insecticons escape in time, Megatron pulls an emotional 180, seemingly forgetting the choice he just made moments ago.
My electro cells, they were meant for me! They were...
In a complete juxtaposition to Megatron's pettiness, back at Autobot base, our human scientist friends see the value of the bright side of this situation.
You did what had to be done. At least the chain reaction did not harm the Earth.
And thanks to you and the other Autobots, the Decepticons failed to harvest the energy from the cells.
As things wrap up for good, Cliffjumper dares to make the most cringe apology you can imagine.
Hey, Mirage, I have just one thing to say to you.
Yeah? What, Cliffjumper? Move over! Hey, what's up?
I think I have a hole in my head that needs repairing too!
And with that, we end with flailing robots wrestling like little boys in the backyard. How delightful. And that, my friends, is Traitor. Now, did they make mistakes? Not very many at all, but you know me, I'm here for the lols. Alright, I love this episode, but I have to say it. How are these people not immediately killed by the rubble falling from directly above their head? That's a really long fall for a human to not be killed or permanently injured. What is this, a Michael Bay movie? That is one big fancy building, and I have a really hard time believing these are the only two people that were inside.
Decepticon at 12 o'clock!
See, now Cliffjumper says there's a Decepticon, but I hear the Millennium Falcon. And let's be honest, one of these days I'm gonna have to make a video of all the Star Wars sound effects in these episodes. I really like this visual, but where did he tear that from? Like his wing? And if so, wouldn't he feel it? Like, wouldn't that be like having flesh ripped off your bones? Oh look, there's 2 Starscreams. You know, for a guy who's under accusation, he sure is choosing to behave real suspicious. I mean, other than the need to fool the audience, there's no real point for him to not share his plan or idea with the rest of them, especially when he's got Optimus' support, you know? It's almost like if he made a logical choice, there would be no story. And that is what we call a major plot hole. Okay, this isn't stealthful so much as extra suspicious, and let's be honest, kind of eye-grabbing.
They're firing on us. It's a Decepticon ambush.
Kickback's eyes are solid black instead of solid red. At what point does Cliffjumper's persistent accusation start to make him the one that everyone becomes suspicious of? Almost like he's trying to frame Mirage.
No wonder Mirage set us up. Right, Prime. This was controlling him. One of Bombshell's Cerebro shells. Then Mirage isn't a traitor.
Seriously, fuck off, Cliffjumper. You ever have somebody in your life treat you really badly in public, and then when they realize how bad they were to you, they just kind of play it off like everything's cool and you're supposed to go along with it? So uncomfortable. Again, just think of them as children. The Transformers, and frankly, people that act like that. Hey, let's be frank, they did do better that time. That's a good-looking episode. And if you notice my cut of this episode is a little longer than normal, it's because there's so much stuff I didn't want to leave out. I really like the visuals. There's a lot of great stuff in the animation where the Transformers have very much more defined, consistent heads, and their bodies just feel and look more solid to me. I love the extra time and attention that went into all the highlights and shadow and little details. And there's even a few moments where I noticed they got a little ambitious, where they had a camera move, where the camera kind of spins around the character. I loved all that stuff. And I wish all the episodes could look like that, but I also know different episodes clearly got different amounts of time and money put into them. So, that being said, we'll be back with another episode very soon. In the meantime, I do also have some G.I. Joe coming up, and there's Beast Wars coming out every week. So please like, share, subscribe. I'll be back here soon, and I hope you'll come back to watch, my friends. Until then.
The countdown will begin this Sunday afternoon at 1, right here on the radio station you grew up with, Music Radio 138. Oh, fuck. What the hell's going on here? Oh, geez, well, isn't it the last hour? We got another hour to do? Geez, I thought we were almost finished. Good golly, Miss Molly. Boy, this is fucking ponderous, man. Ponderous, fucking ponderous.
Hey, there's a day Casey Kasem was telling me, I really don't like rock and roll. I mean, he was kind of...
Dear Casey, this may seem to be a strange dedication request, but I'm quite sincere, and it'll mean a lot if you play it. Recently, there was a death in our family. He was a little dog named Snuggles, but he was most certainly a part of... Let's go start again. From coming out of the record. Play the record, okay? Please. See, when you come out of those up-tempo goddamn numbers, man, it's impossible to make those transitions, and then you got to go into somebody dying. You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for, but goddamn it, if we can't come out of a slow record, I don't understand it. Is Don on the phone? Okay, I want a goddamn concerted effort to come out of a record that isn't a fucking up-tempo record every time I do a goddamn death dedication. Now, make it, and I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week. This is the last goddamn time I want somebody to use his fucking brain to not come out of a goddamn record that is, that's up-tempo, and I got to talk about a fucking dog dying.